What up, people YouTube? Welcome back to the voting vlogs. We have a special cameo tonight for this one, so we had to come out and play some poker with him/her. Yeah, you'll see inside. Let's get straight into the session. Buying into this 1-3 game for $1,000, 7 blacks and 300 green. A little Euro stack there going on. We have ace deuce of hearts on the bunch straddle for the first hand. +1, +2, limp to 6. We go ahead and raise it up to $30. In position and both players call. Flops, what Andrew Nemi would say, favorable. It's queen, 3, jack, all hearts. So we flop the absolute nuts. It checks to me, and even though we have the nuts here, we can get value from queen X hands, 2 pair hands like queen jack, as well as king hearts. So we go ahead and bet $35. If they end up folding, it is what it is. The +1 folds, and the +2 now raises to $125. Obviously, like I said, we can still get value from a lot of hands, and we don't want to scare him off just yet, given that we have the nuts. So I do elect just to call. Turns to 4 of hearts. It's a really bad card, unless he has the king of hearts, which is what we hope for. The +2 now goes all in. Obviously, we snap call with the nuts here, and the river is the 5 of diamonds. He would later go on to say that he had a set, so lucky that the board didn't pair, and lucky that he's just putting the money in way behind against us. Some of the type of players here you're going to get at TCH, including myself, of course. I'm going to make some fish plays, as you'll see later in the vlog. A little bit of chip horn here after that hand, so we start the session up about $450, give or take. And here's our little cameo. That's Jello from Next Gen Poker joining our session here at TCH Houston. In this hand, we have pocket sixes under the gun. We go ahead and open a $15, the cutoff and button and big blind, all call. 4 players to flop, which is 8, 5, 4. Rainbow, we flop a gutter ball and a second pair, of course. Big blind checks, we go ahead and c-bet $25. Of course, this doesn't always hit our range, but we're going to try to protect our equity here. And all 3 of them surprisingly call. Turns a 5 of clubs. It's a pretty good card for us. Only thing we're afraid of is some weird 8x. Other than that, they shouldn't really have anything aside from maybe pocket 4s that beats us. We go ahead and bet $80 when it checks us, and all players fold. So really good start to the session here. Continuing right along, we have king jack offsuit in the small blind. The low jack limps, cutoff makes it $20. We go ahead and make the call, and the low jack calls as well. 3 players to flop now, which comes king jack 8. We flop top 2 on a rainbow board. We go ahead and check, hoping that the pre-flop aggressor will c-bet a majority of the range, or hope that they have something like ace king or king queen. But unfortunately, it checks through. Turns the deuce of spades, and I was about to bet, but the low jack starts grabbing chips and puts $30 before I can do anything. So I just go ahead and check so his bet stays. The cutoff sees this and ends up folding. I raise it to $90 now, trying to get more money in the middle. The low jack now jams for $250 effective. I call, and he asks to go twice, which I obviously obliged to. I never care. My default's twice, but I'm never going to bring it up. He ends up having king deuce of diamonds, and we scoop both run out. So just a cooler turn for him, and very fortunate for us. So that was just another quick cameo of another poker vlogger, a good friend of ours, Wes Cutshaw. He's been crushing the streams on Champions in those 1-3. Coming out plus 10K in these 1-3 games. Pretty sick. If you haven't checked out some of his older content, go ahead. It's really highly produced quality content. In this one, though, we have ace deuce of clubs, and the cutoff, the bunch straddle is on. +1 limp 6, hijack makes it $25. We go ahead and call. The button folds, and the +1 calls. 3 players to flop now, which comes 5, 4, deuce, rainbow. We flop bottom pair with a gutter ball to the wheel. The +1 checks, hijack bets $50. This isn't really a board for his range, so we go ahead and call. The +1 snap raises to $300, so unfortunately, we're going to have to fold this one after the hijack folds as well. This one's a bit of a silly one. We have queen 7 of spades in the big blind, also known as the computer hand. The +1 opens for $20, the hijack calls, and we elect to complete in the big blind. 3 players to flop, which comes queen 10, 7, 2 hearts and a spade, so we flop 2 pair with backdoor spades. Probably had the best hand here, so we go ahead and check, and unfortunately it checks through. Turns the 7 of diamonds, so we fill up immediately. If our hand wasn't strong enough, it just gets immediately stronger. We don't want this one to check through, and we want to charge a few draws and small pocket pairs to go for $25, and surprisingly, both players call. River's a 5 of hearts, so the front door hearts do get there. We go for a bet of $150. It's a pot-sized bet.
Obviously, we can have hearts here. We unblock all of those, of course. So we're trying to get calls from flushes, maybe the case 7, and hopefully non-believing pairs. But unfortunately, both players fold.
We had a hand where I opened like 8-6 and
Well,
like
three?
ace
400 minus 2.
I was like, all right, I don't really know heads up, but I know I should probably have this and like probably not folding top pair ever.
In this next one, it's a very spicy one. We have ace king offsuit in the hijack. The button straddle is on under the gun, low jack, limp is $6. We go ahead and make it $40, and only the low jack calls. Heads up to flop, which comes 8-4-3, 2 hearts and a spade. Low jack checks, and obviously this doesn't really hit our pre-flop raising range unless we have something like a pocket pair. So we're just gonna check it back, given that we don't really have any equity on this board at all. Turns the 8 of diamonds pairing the board. The low jack checks, and sometimes our ace king off can be good here when he checks 2 streets. So we go ahead and bet $70, about 3/4 pot. And the low jack now does something interesting. He check raises to $220. So obviously this can be a lot of sets like 4s and 3s, but it can also be a lot of heart draws, and we don't have a heart in our hand, specifically the ace or king of hearts, which is very important. So we do make the call. The river's a 5 of clubs, so breaking out that front door flush draw. The only things that get there are 6-7, and of course the flop sets that turn boats. The low jack now bets $510. It's a pot sized bet. This is a very capable player. He's capable of bluffing. He's not always just going to have it. So I tank for a while. I don't have a heart. If I had the ace of hearts or king of hearts, I'd be much more inclined to make a fold. This pushes me more to a call because he can have a lot of king, queen, king, jack, queen, jack, jack 10, as well as ace rag of hearts. And his only value hands are 4s and 3s. So there's a lot more bluffs that he could have in this spot, not just value. And for that reason, I do end up making the call. It's probably a bad call in the long run. I just thought it was very specific to the player that he was capable of going for a pot size bluff, and I was in fact this case wrong. He had pocket 3s, so like I said, it's either 4s or 3s in this spot, or some type of missed flush draw that's trying to polarize. But I think he's going to have a lot more value than missed draw combos given the pre-flop action. I think he's raising a lot more of those ace x, queen x, king x hearts pre-flop, and then he's just limp flatting these pocket pairs. So unfortunate, bad read, and yeah, we lose a lot of our profits that we built up to this point.
Get some good angles for the vlogger.
I will say shout out to Jello for getting the footage of me making this incorrect play like an idiot, so thanks Jello. Very unfortunate turn of events as I add on $1,000 after that hand, and I end up bluffing off $650 to that same player, and I add on another 1,000, so I'm in this 1-3 game for $3,000. In this hand, I have ace-3 of clubs, and the cutoff, the bunch straddles on. The +1 and +2 limp to 6, hijack makes it $30. We go ahead and call, and both +1 and +2 call as well. 4 players to flop, which comes ace-9, 4, 2 hearts, and a spade. We flop top pair with a marginal kicker. It checks to us, and we go ahead and bet $50. Don't have to go too big. We're just trying to defend some of our equity and charge heart draws and maybe non-believing pairs. So we only get the +1 to call. Heads up to the turn, which is a 5 of hearts. So the front door hearts get there, and we do have a wheel draw, but we just have showdown at this point after getting called multi-way. So the +1 checks, and we check it back. River's at 8 of diamonds, and the +1 leads out for $80. For that price, we can't fold. If it's a value bet with hearts, then so be it. We make the call, and the +1 shows king 9 offsuit for second pair. So nice little pot to come back with in this one. Right along, we have pocket 3s in the cutoff. The +1 opens for $12. We go ahead and make the call, looking to set mine. Small blind bets $55, 3 betting. This is a good friend of ours, and the +1 calls, so we elect to call as well. He's not always just 3 betting a very tight range. He can have a lot of hands like jack 10 and king, queen, king, jack, things like that. Anyways, 3 players to flop, which comes jack 8, 3, 2 hearts and a spade. We flop bottom set. It checks through. I could bet, but I'm willing to underrep my hand and let them catch up a bit, even though it's a pretty dynamic and wet board. Stuff like 10-9 and hearts we could charge, but I'm just going to underrepresent my hand here and risk it for the biscuit. Turns a deuce of diamonds, so it's a super clean card, the cleanest card we could have thought of. The small blind now leads out for $80, about half pot. The +1 now raises to $165. We're going to look to get all the money in here in the middle. We go ahead and jam for about $400 effective. The small blind calls for less, for $242 total, and the +1 calls. We're end up against king, queen of hearts from the small blind and pocket aces from the +1. The queen actually banks both for the main, hitting hearts on both. Very unfortunate as we had them right where we wanted, under-repped our hand, clean turn, but unfortunate river run out for us as we don't lose too much given that there was a side pot, but we could have obviously won a lot more here. Just a bit frustrating of a situation as we obviously deserve to lose money in spots that we make bad calls and make bad bluffs, but in the spots where we play hands correctly, we somehow just get punished. And this game of poker is sometimes really sick. In this one, we have pocket aces, the rockets, and the low jack. The bunch straddle is on. Small blind limps a 6. We go ahead and make it $40, and only the small blind calls. Heads up to flop, which is king, jack, deuce, 2 clubs, and a spade. The small blind checks. We go ahead and c-bet for $50. We have the ace of clubs in our hands, and we want to charge any king X or queen 10 type hands. And the small blind now jams all in for $200 effective. We always make the call. If he has a set or king jack, then so be it. But there's a lot of hands that we're beating that he's jamming here. We end up running twice, and he ends up hitting 2 pair with king 4 on the first run out. So end up chopping. Just very unfortunate and frustrating turn of events as we're getting the money in really good a lot of the time and still end up losing or chopping. We did win a PLO hand shortly after, but end up racking up.
What's up, guys? So we finished that session at TCH Houston on Westheimer. In the game for 3,000, out of the game for 3,046. Pros were we got unstuck out of the hole. Biggest we were unstuck, I think, at the most was probably $800. So yeah, we were planning to just do a session with Jello from Next Gen Poker. Shout out to Jack for coming through and playing a session with me. Obviously he's based out of Dallas, but came in for Houston for some work and then decided to play some poker. Got me out of the house for that, so it was fun to see him and play some poker. But yeah, we were stuck 800 at the most, fluctuating stuck between 600 and 800 because we made a very bad call with the ace king high and then bluffed it off later, which we didn't have on the vlog. But yeah, just really poorly played by me for both those hands. Could have ended this session up a lot more if we don't play those 2 hands and don't bluff off a majority of our stack, but it is what it is. That's poker. You have to go through some of the motions sometimes and just play through it. And yeah, still learning to be more disciplined in spots like that and just keep a level head and play better. But it was a grind and we were able to get unstuck, which is the best part about it. So in for 3, out for 3,046. Profit of $46, which is nice at the end of the day. Yeah, thanks for following along as always, guys. If you like this session and video, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one, guys. Peace.